When you see Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, moving here and there and being expelled from the White House, as we all knew, we saw him being blamed for demanding his country's rights in Crimea and in the eastern provinces that Russia occupied in the last war, and being rescued by various countries of the world. And they asked that the world protect its people from Russian oppression, protect its army, protect its infrastructure. When you see his movement, you feel that you sympathize with him. But at the same time, what do you look at in his handling of the Gaza issue and his dealings with the pain that is happening to the Palestinian people? You have no choice but to shout at me and say, Zelensky, as you condemn, you will be condemned. This is a man who felt the pain of the occupation in his country, the injustice of the major powers to him, and felt their concern for the killing of civilians in. His people are the same man who supports Israel with all his might until they crush the people of Gaza. Had he not been at war, he would have sent Ukrainian soldiers to Palestine to war with Israel. He supported the Jews with very early statements from October 7, one of the first leaders in the world to support the Jews. The first thing that happened was a problem in Israel. He supported Israel with a speech on October 7th and comments. And October 8th, and after that, on October 11th, 4 days into the war, Netanyahu was asked to visit Israel. Why is he visiting Israel? He tells him that his visit to Israel will include great support for Israel because Zelensky is loved by Western leaders because of Russia's war. When he visits Israel, he will give great impetus to Israel, and thus Western leaders who may be hesitant in European countries in particular may then be encouraged to support Israel in its war against people of Gaza. Some might be surprised. Absolutely terrible enthusiasm. I mean, we have not seen from the leaders of Europe who supported the Jews for many years, not even from the leaders of America. I mean, he took the issue from the first day directly on his shoulders, and he insists on the Israeli issue against the people of Gaza. People are surprised by this issue. The truth is that when history recedes, you find that relations have become very strong. From Ukraine to Israel, soon after Zelensky took power, a strange event occurred. I take over. Netanyahu visited Ukraine on 18/8/2019. 3 months after Zelensky's inauguration, Netanyahu was the first foreign leader to visit Ukraine after Zelensky's term began. The speed is very high in handling, and transactions at all levels, economic transactions, military transactions, intelligence transactions, and each of the three needs that Dia said have very, very, very many items under it. This means that Ukraine is shopping for Israel in the world, and Israel is shopping for Ukraine in the world, other than the trade exchange between them and the exchange. The weapons and intelligence mean on a very, very big level. Why, as soon as Zelensky took power, Netanyahu always visited him and supported him in this way, and strong relations were established. The reason is that you may be very surprised and you do not know that Zelensky is Jewish. Oh, he is a Jew, not a Jew. The thought is no, he is seriously a Jew. I mean, he is a Jew. The religion, his father and mother are Jews from what is 978, born in the Ukraine. And who is the first Jewish president to rule Ukraine in history, has a certain status, and when he ruled Ukraine, he chose his own head of government. What is his name? Vladimir Grassiman. He is also a Jew, and thus Ukraine became the first country in the entire world after Israel to have the head of state and head of government at the same time Jewish. It happened before in countries of the world that there were Jewish prime ministers, but that does not mean the entire government is no longer the president and the head of the government. This is the situation in Ukraine. Of course, we have no call on the issue of whether he is Jewish or not, and Nasrani and Labuzi, and does not mean that she is one of his dealings. His dealings are Zionists in support of the Israeli occupation, not sympathetic to Muslims. Is he not sympathetic to those we care about dealing with? So don't treat it from the first clear day. By the way, Israel refused Zelensky's visit to Israel after the Gaza war. I mean, he said on October 11th, 4 days after the Gaza war, but he wanted to visit Israel. Israel refused the visit and said that the time was not appropriate, and most of the time Israel refused in order to maintain its relationship with Russia. VAY. He doesn't want to antagonize Russia directly like this, and you receive those who fight Russia. So this is probably the reason, ha ha ha, after Russia invaded Ukraine. This speech was in February 2022. Zelensky asked for support from the Jews. In general, Israel was reluctant to announce support as well because of its relations with Russia. At that time, Zelensky went out of his way to request the Jews of the whole world. Zelensky's speeches on 3/2/2022 AD, the Russian invasion. My trip to Ukraine was on February 2022, and about 9 days after the invasion, Zelensky spoke and said, "I am now addressing all the Jews of the world. Don't you see what is happening?" That's why it is very important, speaking for Zelensky, that 1,000 Jews around the world do not adhere to silence now, as it is heresy for all the Jews of the world to move for Ukraine, because the head of its government, its president, and the head of its government are Jews. When the war began, the hideous Zionism on Gaza on October 7th, and we said that it is support, means the Israel with repeated speeches, October 7th, October 8th, etc. November 7th. I mean, after a month of war, and after everyone saw the ugliness in the war, I mean, in the first day we said that it was possible for a military war to remain, but after a month the peoples of the world discovered that the war was against civilians, and marches took place here and there, and calls came out that this violated international law, and that there was a war of genocide and mass war against civilians. Bombing hospitals, bombing schools, bombing aid convoys. The people prevented medicine, water, drink and food from the confined people. The world became clear to the point that even the American media itself was talking about the issue on November 7th. I mean, 1 month later, the American channel NBC News conducted a dialogue with Zelensky, and I asked him at the time about Israel's violation. International law, what do you think? In the Gaza war, what did he say? He said no rules. Where there are terrorists, I mean, he unleashed and defended the Jews with the utmost force. There is no objection that they attack civilians, hospitals and schools. There are no rules. We do not have customs, rulings, laws, or ideals such or such. It is completely the opposite. What he was saying about Ukraine is completely different. You are as if he were another person speaking and said that there are no rules where there are terrorists. He tried to fake it. The facts in the media directly said that. Russia supports the Palestinians for this war to happen, to distract from the Ukraine-Russia war. And he also said that North Korea supports the Palestinians and their weapons are all North Korea. That is, he says this because he knows that North Korea is hated by the West and hated by the world. Why? The rest of the Palestinians are dressed in. So they all gave each other one package, and we hate them all, and no one is affected by Israel's attack on people who cooperate with North Korea. This is Zelensky's dialogue on November 7th with the American channel NBC News LA. This is a fact. I mean, Zelensky is a defender of Ukraine's rights. The rights of Palestinians are completely ignored.